At this time, I'd like to open the meeting of the Carver Conservation Commission for February 6th, 2019. And our first order of business is some appointments and discussions. Surprise. Okay. Agent 17 Wareham Street.
17 Wareham Street, yep.
Discussion of possible work.
Yep. You can come up if you want. This was the one, if you remember, we sent out a letter.
Yes.
Because we had gotten a complaint of work going on within 100 feet of Crane Brook and some storage of logs and stuff like that. So we asked, what's your name?
Chris?
To come in and just tell us what it is he wants to do. And you've applied to the building
Yes.
department for your tree.
Commercial.
Operation, okay. So he has applied to the building, commissioner for a tree service permit. So the question is, he brings, trees in and stuff, and he
Right.
stores them near where you and I looked at, Jim. So we just wanted him to come in and explain what it is he wants to do.
Did you explain to the building commissioner that you would be working on the site there? Doing work with the trees that you'd brought back?
No,
No.
I'm just simply
You're
storing.
locating a business there.
Just, yeah, just storing the trucks and just storing wood.
Right, well, if work is going to go on as far as cutting up the trees, so on and so forth, that's another step.
No, right now, I'm only just cutting up what I need for my own personal use at the
Right,
moment.
okay,
For our 2 fireplaces.
Yes.
So the wood that we have is for our fireplaces. We're not selling firewood.
no. Right,
And if I was to just be in log length, I would just put the logs back in my truck and deliver them. I have no desire to
go
process
into process.
wood.
It's good business in it.
It's messy, it's time consuming, and I need more
Doesn't
equipment.
pay very well either.
No, there's not a good return on it,
No,
no.
but,
So
People are
the issue
dropping
is
out.
that Crane Brook is,
Yeah.
kind of adjacent to where he's
How close,
piling the logs.
how close to the brook are you?
The wood pile is,
We saw that, Jim. It's probably-
yeah,
I-
I mean, it's
60
probably within, it would
60
be within
feet, probably.
200-foot riverfront. Do you think it's
Yeah,
it's probably
I
You want
mean,
to put it
one-
on the riverfront, so we don't have any jurisdiction.
Well, if it's within the riverfront, we do.
we do.
Oh, the riverfront,
Yeah.
that's right,
But-
it is a riverfront,
Yeah,
it's
but
not
the
a.
question is, if
That's
it-
right, it is a riverfront.
But the question is if he's, just
yeah.
storing trees.
It's still within 200 feet.
Right.
Right, we haven't gotten a final word on whether the bog there where you're storing them which is now an abandoned bog, right?
yeah.
And has that been taken out of 61A?
When I bought the house, I was told it was an upland bog, but I didn't actually make sure. I didn't,
Okay.
We have other bogs on the property.
You do that, right, you have functioning bogs that you're working or somebody else is working for you? Right, but if it's going to be used for storage, it has to come out of 61A because it's no longer a functioning cranberry bog. It's now being used as,
Right.
you know.
I believe it is. I'm not positive,
Okay,
but
well,
I
we'll
believe
try
it's
to
considered
check with the
upland.
assessor on that.
Okay.
Yeah, we check it. And I
So
mean,
you-
it looked to me like it probably was an upland bog because it was up above, like,
Yes.
maybe we drove in the driveway, it's up above the rest of the bog.
Right,
So
right,
the
it's
thing is,
higher.
I mean, the
It's
previous
been
owner-
filled in. There's no vines left in it.
And there really wasn't a lot of, cranberry vines or
Right.
anything, Jim. It was mostly,
Right.
And the previous owner had stored stuff in that bog before we bought it.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So,
that-
I mean,
Yeah,
that
Yeah.
wasn't considered a bog when we bought it, just
So
the
it
back of the house was.
it might be out of 61A.
So, well, that's the whole thing we have to check, because if it's not working, then they come out of 61A, and the assessors be interested, because of course that means more income for them, unfortunately. Okay, so, what other questions did we have on that?
There's no log operation going on there, you're not bringing it, this all came because a resident came to one of the meetings and spoke of you running a wood operation out of a residential agricultural area, where you're bringing in truckloads of lumber or truckloads of logs. So they made reference to there were loads coming in several times a day, it made it sound like it was a big operation, so that's why the letter went out, that's why the what are you doing went out. We didn't just pull your name out of a hat.
Well, we know that someone had complained multiple
Someone
times.
complained
just
about it at an open
recently.
meeting, so now, you know.
We've been there since March, we've been doing the same thing since March. So I don't know why all of a sudden, there's a complaint, but that's fine. But we have 2 fireplaces, if we can get ample amount of wood to store, we've run out of wood before. We've had terrible winters before, I'm not doing that again. I
Yeah.
have the space, I'm allowed to do that, it's on my own property.
Sure,
I'm
we're
not selling
arguing that.
firewood,
We're more
we're not
concerned with the
processing
business
it.
being run out of it.
Slow
That's
down,
the-
as
was
long
the
as you're not
question.
within 200 feet of the river. See, this is the issue we're here for. If you're outside of 200 feet, it's not in our jurisdiction at all,
That's right.
okay? We have nothing to do. But if you're within 200 feet of the river, that's us. That means if you're within 200 feet of a river and you want to do something within 200 feet, you have to file a notice of intent. Okay, that's all we're saying. So let's keep it down,
You went out to the
relax.
site, Jim?
Yeah,
And you did?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we didn't measure.
no, we didn't mention, it was a very brief, very preliminary visit.
But where the logs were stored, they were fairly, they were up by the driveway.
Yeah.
When we drove in.
So
Crane Brook is in the behind.
are they outside the 200 feet?
No, they're within 200 feet,
Yeah.
I'd say they're
quite
probably
sure,
within
yeah.
200 feet.
But the
Is
big
there
thing
any
is,
place else that you think that is there any place else that you could put those logs that'll be outside the 200 feet? We're
I
just
would-
trying to come up with an easy way to help you out here. We're not,
Well, it's a, like a 4-sided bog, so
Yeah, we
if
got a
I
picture.
just half that, I'd have to see what 200 feet is. I would probably only have to move maybe half the pile around the corner.
I mean, it's actually 200 feet from the river and 100 feet from the bog.
yeah, actually, I don't think that we
So-
well,
actually
it's
have
an
a,
upland bog, it's not being used.
Right,
Yeah.
but I'm thinking the other bogs.
Oh,
Yeah.
We're
geez.
nowhere,
Yeah,
We're
we're
nowhere
yeah, oh,
near
yeah,
it.
No.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we're on the opposite end of the bog from
Yeah.
the working bogs.
Is that an upland bog or?
Why don't we see what the
It
building
is a working
inspector
bog, but
does?
if it's an upland.
He's
it
applied
doesn't
for a
matter.
permit to operate if there's
okay,
no permit
well, we'll have him
issued.
talk, yeah. I don't have a problem with the logs being stored on ground that's within 200 feet, as long as it's not a functioning
Right.
bog.
But this makes it, this doesn't
Yeah.
force him to go do an NOI
No.
and file a
Right,
fee and
not even
everything. If
have
the
a-
building inspector blows you out of the water, then a lot of the point becomes moot anyway, because now you're only gonna have personal use, and that's easy enough for you to keep out of the 200-foot mark, so now you don't need to file an NOI. We don't have to do a site visit, you don't have to pay for that, for the cost of the filing. Makes life a little bit easier for you. If the building inspector says, yeah, you have my blessings, you're all set, good to go, then you can look at where you wanna put the operation. If it's within 200 feet of the riverfront, now you're gonna have to file a notice of intent and get a variance for it. Yeah, like I said, I don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah.
You're not running a tree cutting operation where you're bringing in massive truckloads of cut trees and then harvesting and processing it on the site.
I think that's just.
So that's,
house to me.
Well, the other thing, of course, is to be discreet as far as the cutting that you do for your own use. Keep it within normal business hours, so that, like 7 to 4:30 during the day, just Monday through Friday. And,
He probably would if he got the
Yeah.
permit from building. They'd
Yes.
give
Yeah.
hours and
I
things.
mean, we're not here to give you a hard time, believe me, but we had no choice but to address it because we got a complaint in an open meeting.
Yeah, yeah,
So that brought the whole thing out.
Right.
in the front.
We have a map of this. You want to show us where your house is on this?
I gave you a
right here,
couple
it's
of
marked.
things,
Well,
See the
it's-
little-
it's a
see the
little,
little
it's
mark?
it's a gray square there.
Oh, okay.
and he drew on there
All right.
where he
You
wanted.
use, see, you gotta use red,
is
yellow, green.
It is this one over here?
On this little
Yeah.
tiny
Oh, it's that
thing.
one, see?
Huh?
So he can put
You gotta get the- Yeah, for Tim, you gotta get the crayon.
But but Fred drew he drew it on there
Yeah,
about
to
where
put the log.
he
Oh,
stored the wood.
that's a bog.
So although actually, that's probably not right.
It looks like
because
it's right
that's
here.
on the river.
That's where
Right
he's,
there.
yeah.
Okay.
Somebody else.
So
You
he's-
don't even know
There's
what you
another
drew.
house
I
in
didn't.
the front, yeah.
So that's the
You could
river.
drop it in the
Yeah.
driveway, right?
So he's
It's not the end of the world.
and it's only this
Whether it's the end of the world or not, we still have to go by the bylaws of the town.
That's next week, the end of the world.
The end of the world is next week. Let's see what I would like to, I don't think a motion is necessary, but I'd like to just make a suggestion that why don't we put you on for like, not the next one, but the one after the conservation hearing that's after the next one? Just let us know where you're at with it. We have
March
a,
12th, I have to go in front of the planning board, so
Oh.
I won't know anything till March 12th.
Okay,
Oh,
so
all
we
right.
we should go after that, right?
after the
All right,
March
so
12th.
we'll put you on
Yeah.
our next
Third.
one after March 12th. How's
Third
that?
week in March,
Yeah.
third.
Second
So it would
March.
probably be, the first one would be the 6th, so the third would be,
It's 20th.
20.
20th,
20?
okay.
Is that right?
Be the 20th.
Yep.
Yep.
How's that?
Same time,
Okay.
same place?
And
So we
it'll
should
get you
move,
through-
Does
And it'll
that
get you
work
through the
for you?
winter.
Yeah,
All right, we'll do that.
And then it'll still be
That makes
another
sense.
informal discussion, unless the planning board gives you the go-ahead, then I would recommend you get a hold of Brooke and see, let them know what the planning board said, and
Yeah.
then she'll direct you on whether you need to file a notice of
right?
intent.
Could be that there'll be nothing.
Yeah,
know, what-
and then we could, maybe a couple more of us could do a site visit,
Yeah,
and then we
we'll
can
do-
just see where it is
I'll
you
do a
want to.
site visit there.
yeah,
all
the-
your stuff.
yeah, I filed for a site review, and
Yeah, oh,
the
okay.
planning board seemed to not, they think that it shouldn't be an issue. So they seemed pretty upbeat, pretty hopeful about it, so.
That's cool.
That sounds cool.
I was willing to help a young couple out.
Thank you.
Pretty easy.
Very good.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You thought you were gonna
Take care,
get-
have a nice
You thought you
evening.
were gonna get spanked, see? No problem.
All right, we'll see you on March 20th.
All right,
Yep.
thank you.
Take
Good
care
luck
now.
with the
Thank you
planning
too.
board.
Have a good night.
No COCs, okay. Minutes,
He's going through the right courses. He's taking the right course now. That's the problem.
Mr. Benson? Well, no, because it's not a formal hearing, see, that's, yeah. So March, keep in mind, March 20th, they may be coming in for a formal hearing, and that would be the time when you would advance your issues.
And March 12th, they're in front of the planning board.
Yeah,
March
that's true,
12th
you
in
might
front
want to
of the
go,
planning
March 12th,
board.
they're in front of the planning board for a permit to do what they're doing.
Yeah,
And then March 20th, they'll be back in front of us. So the planning board is where
You want to
should
be.
voice your opinions.
yeah, so I won't say any more tonight.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, they're gone anyway, so.
Well, it doesn't matter,
You know.
yeah, okay.
Planning board, March 12th, sir.
Noise and stuff, so that's
Yeah.
nice anyway.
Yeah.
That's right,
Just-
it's just planning board. So.
As opposed,
I don't think so.
Not unless he files. I mean,
Yeah.
you notified right now that he's going to come back on the 20th with us.
verbally, I'm talking about formally.
Not
Yeah.
formally, no,
If he's
because he
applying
hasn't,
for a variance with planning
not
board-
until he's
Yeah.
filed with us.
Planning will.
Planning should notify you as an abutter.
Yeah,
There's quite an unreasonable amount of logs on that site. I mean, it's certainly not for home use.
Bring a photo.
Huh?
Bring a picture.
Got a couple photos, I'll bring it in for you guys.
Bring a picture.
I will. There's no chance you guys can do it on site, right?
oh, we could before the 20th.
Yes, we will probably after the planning board decision, and we know what we're dealing with. That's the thing.
In between.
What about the trees getting cut on the brook, right on the edge of the brook, all the foliage? I mean, whatever.
Yeah,
He cut all that?
Yeah, he did.
we'll be looking at them.
I wish you would, guys.
Okay.
Okay, we will.
Appreciate your time. Thank
Go
you
to the
very much.
planning board on the 12th.
Oh, I'll be there.
Gonna go see that site now.
And we'll look at it between the 12th and the 20th. How's that?
Yeah.
All right.
Because planning's gonna make a site visit too if they file
I
for
would- I
a
would
variance.
They should.
They might-
Okay,
Okay, so
now,
that'll be better. Then we'll know
Yeah.
whether
Yeah.
we needs to file.
Should have asked for public.
now, no, because it was not a formal hearing. That's the reason why I didn't. Okay, it doesn't look like that we'll have time for the minutes, so let's go to our new hearing for 88
Oh, I'm
South
sorry.
Main Street.
I'm sorry, we have one more informal.
Oh,
The 198 Meadow.
yes,
That was an unanticipated,
right,
yep, and I asked him to come in.
okay.
Remember, Josh had come in, you can come up, Josh, had questioned, wants to do a pool.
Yes, pool
So
and the.
I saw a
right.
preliminary plan that showed the pool within the 65. So I told Josh to come in and talk to the board informally, before he goes through the whole filing
Right.
process and everything. So we went out today and did a site visit, and then we saw
Yeah.
some trees cut and.
Right, we need
So
to,
we want to talk to,
yeah, we've decided that we need to get the wetlands line staked and an up-to-date map of them in your property.
Okay.
It would look, from what we saw today, that there's been a fair amount of activity within the wetlands, so we may have to restrict you. So,
this is an as-built plan. This is just the
Yeah.
plan that I have from the
Right.
Board of Health, but so it shows the wetland line, and that's Josh's house. So he hasn't proposed anything to us yet, but based on the site visit today, we saw that,
Right.
there had been some.
Well, we also saw activity that we believe is within.
Wetlands activity there too?
Yeah.
There were deep tracks of some heavy equipment that had gone into the wetlands. There were piles of branches, leaves, trees.
Natural
There were
debris.
probably about 12 or 14 trees that had been freshly cut.
Oh, man.
I think there's 11. There was 11, but not all of them were in the back. And when they cut them, they just cut them from the bottom and like sent them into the woods. So that's why I was in there trying to clean it up.
Well, there was a pile of brush all the way back at the water's edge,
Yeah,
and that can't happen.
okay.
That's right. The wetlands is not a storage dumping point for yard trash.
Obviously it is.
Yeah,
Okay. It has to be considered a wetland and be protected. We may, as a matter of fact, be putting in stakes with signs on reminding people that there's a 65-foot margin that's no touch beyond that.
okay.
We're gonna have to get that trash out of there.
Yeah,
Well, we've got to get it staked and marked out
That's the
first.
thing.
Yeah.
So
Get
we can go
stake
back
marked
for a
out,
second.
well, where the stuff's at the river's edge, you can pull that out.
Well, no, let's not do it till we get it staked. Get
Right.
the line marked, and then we'll,
It's probably better to do it when it's a little drier.
Yeah.
so,
It was
so
spring
there's
would be
one
better.
other question before he leaves. The reason he came is he kind of wanted to get, like a opinion of what you would think of the pool being within the 65.
Not until I see the cleaned up out there.
I want to see where the 65
Oh.
is, not from
Yeah.
an old map.
No way.
I want to
Right.
do a site visit that clearly delineates where the wetlands end and begin.
Right.
Okay,
Absolutely.
yeah.
okay.
We can't have it too far into, you might be able to touch on the 65. Normally Carver's attitude is that nothing occurs within the 65 to 0 line from the wetlands. Some things can happen between 65 and 100 feet. There's a no-touch, we call it, from 65 to 0 to a wetlands line. And that's why we need to get the flagging.
Okay.
And one of the other things that we just talked about, looking at the plans, was we noticed that there's a surround around the pool, and that would need to be gravel. It could not be concrete. It cannot be an impervious surface.
Okay.
So that's very strict within the bylaws, within the 65 feet. So
So it's typically, yeah, anything impervious. So the question is, if it's a pool, that's impervious, but at the
Right.
same
Well,
time,
as-
it's,
as Jim said, we've
Yeah.
got, it should be located, so
Yeah.
if it touches that 65 feet at a minimum,
yeah,
and not at all if possible.
yeah.
The problem is when you build in construction, you're going within the 65 foot by at least, 10 feet when you're digging a pool.
That will
was
be,
one
but then afterwards, you come out of it and you repair the damage on the edge.
Right.
All right, you're in for that, okay. Well, let's see what it comes up with.
Right.
Okay.
So that would be the first thing to do,
All
get
right.
the wetland.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so now we go to 88 South Main Street, right?
7:50?
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the Mass Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaw, citation 9.2, that a public hearing will be held at 7:15 PM on Wednesday, February 6, 2019, in the Meeting Room 1 at the Carver Town Hall, to hear the notice of intent filed by Wayne Hanula for the removal of the existing concrete block retaining wall, stairs, and 2 large trees on the bank edge of Sampson's Pond. The existing wall, which is in disrepair, will be replaced with a stone revetment approximately 70 feet long. The proposed work will be conducted within the 100-foot and 65-foot buffer zones to Sampson's Pond. A variance is required to allow the work within the 65-foot buffer protected under the bylaw. The site and work are also located within priority habitat for rare and endangered species as mapped by the Mass Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program. The project's located 88 South Main Street, Carver, Mass. Map 1, Lot 31-B. All interested parties invited to attend. And we have GAF.
Oh, I think that was I don't know if I got the letter, actually. Oh, okay, good. Okey dokey.
Right. So, Mr. Bill, hi.
Evening, how are you guys doing? I'm Bill Madden from GAF Engineering here on behalf of Wayne Hanula and his proposal that's before you tonight. The description that was provided is accurate with respect to the project. There's an existing Versalock concrete block wall that's located at the water's edge, just, landward of that water's edge by a few feet. And it's falling into disrepair now. It's really, according to Wayne, it's been subjected to a lot of ice over the winter months, and that ice has been, dislodging some of those blocks, particularly the bottom course. There's a couple of photographs that I provided with our notice of intent package that showed that. So what we wanted to be is a little bit more proactive in that, and try to see if we could come up with a different scheme than what is there. Recognizing the fact that it seems like the ice condition is the condition that we need to mitigate more than say the extreme water elevations in the pond and what have you. So what we did is we prepared a plan that indicated the removal of that stone, of that Versalock wall, and the creation of what we would consider a stone revetment, similar to what we would use on a coastal engineered project. It's heavy stone, like 500 to 1,000-pound stone, that's laid at a slope of 5-to-1, very, very flat slope. And what we wanted to do is just create that in somewhat of an arch configuration to create a little bit of a landscape feature at the water's edge, as well as providing some stability for that inland bank. As stated, it is in rare and endangered species habitat. I've been in touch with Division of Fish and Wildlife on that, and they've submitted, we discussed how we were going to, provided that the project was approved, how we would go about constructing the project. And, they seem to be in agreement with the procedure that we were outlining for them. There would be no activity occurring in the water. All of the activity would be occurring from the landward side of things. And that's pretty much it. We did create the revetment at a 5-to-1 slope. There is a set of stairs that would go down to the sandy area that would be in front of that revetment. And we weren't planning on introducing any other sediment or materials to that beach. What we felt is through augering a couple of holes around there that the underlying soil under the topsoil and the subsoil was, very similar to what was found on the beach. So we felt there was some consistency there with the grain size and what have you. So that's what we at least are proposing at this point in time. The species that Fish and Wildlife was concerned with, it's a mussel of some sort, and they felt that if we carry out the work as described and discussed with them, there would be no adverse impact, and that's what the letter essentially states.
I think they said do it during the dry period, or put the
Well,
erosion
yeah, we'd
controls in the dry.
obviously like
Yeah.
to do it when the water's at its lowest level.
Yep.
And there's no immediate need to do it right now, I
Right.
don't believe.
The trees that you're going to take out, that they will be a loss to the shoreline, and we'd like to, have them, replacements put in after the construction is finished. We'd like to have trees planted around the
Yeah.
ends of the arch of the revetment.
No, Jim, I'm sorry, I can't agree with removal of those trees. They're on the shoreline. Our bylaw specifically says they can't be removed.
Well,
I don't,
one of them at least is going to have to
neither
be.
one of them, I'm sorry. I don't agree. I
can't
think
put his
neither
wall up.
one of them should be touched.
I understand your point, but I think we're going to have to go with it at this
I
time.
won't vote for that one.
Okay.
I can't do that.
I
As
mean,
far as the block wall goes, it looks pretty good for me for now.
you lose a lot of the wall.
Yeah.
You lose
We're
a
gonna
lot of
use
the
the
wall.
precast style, like what MBO pours out, the T-block kind that's that's built to
put
retain a
stone in.
wall? and
No,
pre-K?
we're more inclined to use a natural occurring stone that would, you know, there's a couple of companies that specialize in doing this type of work, and they have quite an inventory of that rock in their yard, so we would be expecting to use that as opposed to a manufactured product.
Is it possible to do this wall and keep Tim happy and leave that tree where it is?
Both trees.
Well, the trees, if you look at what's going to happen down in there, I don't think that the trees really would stay right now. I think they work to a detriment to that wall if the soil becomes saturated and we have a fair amount of wind and what have you.
Well, the
Sir,
roots
what
are
was there
already
first,
blowing
the
it
trees
out.
or the wall? The trees were there first.
That's correct.
Okay. As far as I'm concerned, the wall is secondary to those trees.
But if it were the wish of the commission to provide additional tree planting, there would be no objection to that.
That's, well, we,
I don't have a big
Not
problem.
removal of those large trees.
I don't have a problem with the trees, Tim, I'm sorry. It's a-
Well,
the
we
trees
have
are
a
already-
bylaw in town
I
that
understand
says you
that.
can't do it.
That's why
And
they
we
call
have
it
to live
variance.
with the reality that things happen as far as the
Somebody
weather and
knows
so on and so
somebody.
forth.
That's what's going on here.
So, we
No,
will,
I think
Can't.
it's a
Al,
hot.
you can't.
Okay, you can't.
well, there's nothing
can't
it-
do it.
specific.
no, that's
about
not
it.
true. We can't do it. We will
can't.
do it if we have to.
Yeah.
So,
But the
Until the
trees
root-
were there first.
Right.
Not the wall.
Okay.
yes.
But the trees were a sapling.
And the Indians were here first, and we're here now.
We're not going there,
okay?
Jim. I'm telling you, the trees were there first. We have a bylaw in town that says you can't touch them.
No, that's not
You
true.
can override it, you can override if you
Well,
want.
We have a,
I don't think
there
there's
has to be
anything
good
specific
reasons
about
for them
trees,
to be
no.
taken out. In this case, it
No,
would be.
Jim.
There's a good reason for it, because of the fact that this wall
We built
would
with
not be
granite
solid
wall.
with a stump of
That
that
wall
tree
is fine to
standing
me.
there.
How old is that wall, sir?
It's pretty old.
I'm not actually
solid
certain. It was
block.
built in I think, the early 90s, but I'm not 100% on that, to be honest with you.
Solid block wall.
I mean, it is falling apart. You know, the old wall is falling.
So,
Is there any way that the arched shape of this could go away, and it could be a straight revetment that parallels the shoreline and maybe saves the two trees that are on the south end? I realize that the one that's
This one,
on
the one in the
on the
middle.
north end of the current stairs is really smack in the middle of where you want to do this. I know, but what I'm doing is I'm trying, this
trees.
picture doesn't give this justice. This is two trees, it's not one.
Those are trees.
We don't have
These
an
are two.
accurate-
There's one behind.
But these are, which ones are you talking about?
I'm talking about if this were not arched,
Say, that's the one that's.
if this
that
were
one,
straight,
it's that one.
They could leave it.
you could leave this one. This would have to go.
So you're talking about the two that actually looks like a one in the
Yes.
picture, right?
Almost by the hedge there that's on the left of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one here,
Yeah,
where the chair is.
right.
So take out the first one that's in the picture on the far
It's in the
right
middle.
and leave the one where the chair is. Is that a doable?
As far as I'm concerned.
And
they're
not
looking
do,
for
and not
they're
do
looking
the
for
arch
sunlight.
shape. Why not, I mean, you've got, at the water line here, you've already got beach that's in front of the hedge on the left. You've got
It's
beach
all
in
the way
front of the.
across
You
the
don't need
front.
the actual
Yeah.
wall. That's it.
So I'm thinking if you wanted,
I wouldn't even replace it. I mean, why replace the wall? I don't
Oh,
get it.
with-
well, no, I
kinda
would
falling
prefer to have the wall replaced because that would be less fertilized lawn going to the edge of the water.
So we're gonna push back and give them a beach, is that what you're saying?
There's a beach here. This is all sand. You can see a sandy shore, the whole lake. I live on it.
I
It's
know.
all sand. So I would prefer to have sand for the first 10 feet or however, 15 feet to the rock
15
wall
feet.
edge,
They're adding 15 feet.
than to have this lawn right at the rock wall. And if the tree has to go, then they plant.
How healthy is that tree, do you know?
very, looks.
Well, I
Looks
didn't,
great.
I know that Wayne was, Wayne and I had discussions about it, it was his opinion that the tree was not in that good a shape. It's not a specimen tree by any stretch, it's a hornbeam, I believe. They're kind of, in his mind, a little bit notorious as far as leaving a bunch of debris behind in what have you each year. But in any event.
That's what trees do.
That's
Pardon
what
me?
trees do.
That's what trees do.
Sorry,
Understood.
I mean, geez, leaves in the fall, I'm sorry.
The trees don't get to complain about the debris that people leave behind.
I know. But I mean, for an unhealthy tree, that's an awful
looks
lot of
pretty
shade.
damn good,
There's an
yeah.
awful lot of shade
And that's
underneath
what's
there.
getting me, is probably looking for the clearing of the light rather than the tree, so.
So I'm looking to try to save the two trees that are on the south end, if possible. Not have the revetment go right to the water's edge, have it parallel the water, if you want to keep it at the 15 feet. And then utilize the sand.
That's wealthy people looking for a wealthy answer. is what that
Right.
is.
Maybe they could make the loop there.
The actual toe of that revetment is the line, the dotted line on the plan shows that, we're actually at the normal water elevation of Sampson's Pond, we're roughly 3 feet or so. The water's edge is 3 feet or so away from the toe of the pond. I'm sorry, from the toe. The pond is about 3 feet away from the toe of the existing Versalock wall. So,
Not today.
Not today, exactly. I mean, this is, I guess, a reasonable example of the conditions out there that we're trying to mitigate through the replacement of this wall with something that's a little bit more suitable in the environment that it faces.
Stairs here.
Right, what, I understand that, but what, I'm just wondering why it can't sort of follow the
I
shoreline
don't see why
as
they can't
opposed
just
to
go
being.
right around it like this. I just don't get it, where they, they can come right around. Like-
It's much wider than this.
I understand what
I
you're
think
saying.
that's a, like,
I mean, this is way
a
over here,
feature.
I
Yes,
understand
it is.
that. But why should it be that big?
Saber's got a very, I
we
think
can
that's a
open
very valid question, if it could
They
be
can do
done.
something.
It's
I
50
think it is
feet.
too.
That's
It,
crazy.
it would probably be stronger and altogether to have a straight shoreline rather than the curve, because once you introduce that curve in, then you're gonna start to get wear and tear as the wind and water work against that.
I think, just to interrupt, I think one of the things that, we just considered when we designed it is making it massive enough so we weren't going to be subjected to deterioration over time. And, I've done dozens upon dozens of these on the coast in the same manner. And the technique that we used in designing this is to dig that toe stone into the ground so that it stays there. On a Versalock wall, for example, there's generally less than one course of block below grade, and many times it's not even placed on a stone base, crushed stone base. You can see from the cross-section that we've put together there that we're creating a layered structure so that we have longevity is achieved. There's some erosion control geotextile fabric that's going to be placed on top of the subgrade that we create. Then we're going to place a graded layer of crushed stone and use that as basically the guide to place the large armor stone, if you will. So, it's really a much more significant improvement than a typical Versalock wall. It provides it provides very good shore stabilization in all instances.
It also, though it comes to my mind that it may be a lot more than the shoreline of a lake, albeit a very large lake, needs, rather, I mean, you're used to doing this along ocean water lines, but we don't get that type of demanding waves, 12-foot rise and fall, and so on here on Sampson. So I think that a simpler construction, as Savory was suggesting, may very well be more suitable and would certainly fit in well better with preserve the line of the lakefront and would then avoid some of the other problems that come with that, the changes in erosion patterns, et cetera.
Jim, I would agree with doing some repairs to the existing wall. I mean, the wall's been there since '92 and looks pretty straight to me. I would
I mean, it should be replaced.
I would agree with some repairs to the existing wall. That's where I would go.
on that existing wall, there's no geogrid underneath it, there's nothing that locks it back
The
into the
wall is
slope.
darn straight, sir. I'm looking at it right
Wall's
now.
falling
Well,
apart.
you
No,
know,
it's
I
falling.
agree with your opinion that it is
Picture is-
straight.
If you didn't make the walk, I think you would have seen problems.
Yeah, if you, well, when we went out there, it is falling in this part.
Yeah.
So it would need to be replaced. I would, that's my opinion. I mean, I think
I
it's
agree.
be hard to repair, don't you think? I
Yeah.
think it would be easier just to
Yeah.
replace it and do it with, like Bill said, the geotextile fabric, do it the right way.
I'd like to
Right,
see
but
him
not
do
quite
it.
If they
so-
could do it without, if they could do it without taking out the trees, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, except for that one in the center. And,
Yeah, I'd go along with that one tree.
One tree and replanting and,
Yeah.
and putting up another.
Yeah, that's just me. I'm not trying to buck you, Tim, but
If you, Al, I agree with you, okay? I hate to get rid of that tree too, but if the committee feels that they have to take one tree, but that's it, and he's gotta replace it with at least a 6 caliber tree.
can you make that work? Can you leave the tree that's on your picture here by the chair?
The south tree.
The one that we're talking about taking is that one on the far left. Will that work for you guys?
You know, I guess we would do everything we can to work around it, if that's what the wish of the commission is. We would do our best, and
That way we don't feel like, we're giving you the permission to strip clear it.
That means, what we're saying is you save the, you get one tree, and the other trees, you protect the roots while you're doing the work.
yeah.
I understand exactly
Okay,
what you're
I
saying.
don't wanna say, yeah, we left a tree, but there are no roots
I'm
left.
fully aware of how to
Right.
protect it and what's
Right.
necessary during construction to ensure the tree remains without becoming damaged.
I'm just trying to be fair to my fellow commissioners.
Oh, that-
Well,
that-
I'm
that's
just
fine.
trying to
I'm
follow
trying
some
to
of
be
the
fair to the
bylaws of the
trees.
town, too.
Well, my feeling is that we're gonna have more of these.
Yeah.
And what word do we hate the most?
Precedent.
No,
Precedent.
I agree with you 100%,
So-
but
I'm willing to make a compromise of allowing this because in my mind, it's going to move a lot of lawn away from the water's edge. And that
Oh, yeah.
is,
Well, you leave
that
the tree-
eliminates fertilizer.
Yeah.
I'm okay with
that gives a 15-foot buffer
Oh,
for any kind of
seriously, right.
runoff
Right.
to be absorbed into the ground instead of flowing right over the wall into the water.
Yep.
Now,
And
I'm sure
I agree
that-
with you, absolutely.
know.
The issue is we just let them take one tree.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I
Let them take one
suggest.
tree.
But staying with the arch then?
No, I
okay.
would go straight across.
Okay.
I would-
But again, a 15-foot setback from the line? or
Well, the
perhaps
arch
that's-
is stronger than a straight wall. That's why I think they designed it that way. Am I wrong?
But if it's a straight wall, 15 feet back, it's never going to be touched by the water.
Yeah.
We weren't considering moving a straight wall 15 feet back. I think really what the goal there was to provide a little access down to the pond and also to add a feature, a landscape feature to the
Yes.
site.
I'm still saying do the revetment, do the
Yes.
the slope, but not in the,
Not in the arch,
Arch.
just straight across,
Yeah.
basically.
yeah, with steps in the middle.
At those squared ends, we'd essentially be just running it, we'd just run it straight across from these two straight ends with no arch.
I don't have a problem
That's
with
what
the
I'm
arch.
thinking.
I think it looks nice.
Save the trees,
Save the
take one
tree,
tree,
save that
that's
one
it.
tree.
Doesn't the arch get
But
you
we need-
back your 15 feet? Doesn't the arch get you back farther?
No,
No,
no. You
Well,
do
it
the straight-
does. It
You
gets
do
you
the
back.
straight edge at 15
Yeah.
feet.
yeah,
But they weren't planning on doing a straight edge at 15 feet. Because that may affect that other tree.
yeah, it won't.
That
Yeah,
would,
Right
that
now,
would
right
affect
now,
the other
that
tree.
other tree is gone. So they just have to make it a little narrower.
This is becoming rather complex. I think
Yeah,
we're going to
it
have to
is.
ask for a different set of plans.
Yeah,
Well, I would expect that we would, based upon whatever discussion we end up with tonight, that I would provide you with a revised plan, and I'm not
Before you
expecting you
start,
to,
But we
to
wanna make
vote
sure
on
that
it
you-
without having a workable plan.
Right. I want you to know from us, Bill, just what we expect, so you don't come in with a new set of plans and get frustrated that we don't like those either, so.
If we,
we're putting something together over here to maybe give you an idea of what we wanna do.
It's really just,
That's it.
It's only 15 feet off to the
Providing-
center of the arch.
providing-
You want the whole wall to be 15 feet back?
tree, right here.
I think that's what Savory would like.
Okay, so that tree's there.
That's
Is that what Savory's saying?
I think that was, yeah.
So what are you saying, Savory? I don't understand.
that what you're
15
saying?
feet.
What?
The arch is 15 feet back. Now you want to put a straight wall in that is all 15 feet back?
Yeah.
And what happens over here? The two sides?
That's where the saving the
ends?
trees over
Yeah.
there.
It goes into the ground.
So it fades down.
I mean, what happens here? It's the same thing. It's a 90-degree edge to the water. What's the difference of it being here or here?
And this
Leave
way
it
you're
the way it
saving
is.
that,
This
that's
way you're
not gonna be
saving these two
lawn.
trees right
Right.
here.
That's these two.
And that's not, and then
Yeah,
that's
there's
not
one
gonna be
behind
lawn,
it.
that's
Can't
what
see.
Savory's issue is, that it won't be lawn now, it'll be sand or.
And then your beach area is this. Actually, it does.
There were just one thing to be, if you were considering us making it straight back from the back of that 15-inch, like 15 feet
Yeah.
on the water's edge, construction of the stone wall comes back another 10 feet. So then we're 10 feet further up the bank than I think that the easiest solution would be to build the revetment on the line of the property line that we show on the plan, 3 feet away from the pond, and just let it go with that. We could preserve the trees on the end. The one in the center is likely to go, and we would not be creating any beach, and that's what I think
I
would
don't
be
have a problem with
I
that.
think that would be the best solution.
Okay.
So just put it straight, pretty much
Just
where
put
it
it
is.
straight
now.
across, like the
Straight
wall
across.
is.
As drawn, and you give the guy the one tree. You make him keep the double trees.
Yeah.
Because I think architecturally, that looks a lot nicer than just a straight, I mean, that's just me, but.
Yeah.
We're gonna put something on the water's edge.
It's really not up to the commission to do the design work, it's up to the engineering and the architects
we're
to do,
gonna approve
to do
a
the
wall.
And the
design work.
resident, and the
So
resident.
Right.
I don't have a problem
You know,
with any of this, providing it saves a tree, that's all I care about.
Well, it's
you know.
gonna save a double tree. It's not
Yeah.
gonna save the other tree.
I know he's not, I know.
Now,
But we're
did
gonna have to, we're
would
gonna
we
have
like
to
continue
request
this?
a variance
Well, I
on
think we
that.
need to continue for
Right, and then
revised plan.
Well, hold on, I don't think we do, because if it's gonna be this drawing, and the only order of conditions is these two
Save the tree.
trees stay,
Oh, okay.
then are you guys
So
in
forget the
agreement with
straight wall?
that?
I'm in agreement with them, they can only take one
Okay.
tree.
So forget
Okay.
the straight wall then.
Right,
Take
Okay,
one
so-
tree,
as drawn,
yeah, take one
in the
tree.
order of conditions, he can cut this tree down and leave the double tree.
Okay.
Is that pretty much where we're at with that?
But leave it like this, but save
Yeah.
this tree, these trees over here, the
Yeah, I'm
double
having a
trees on the
problem
end.
with these
Yes.
trees over. Let me show you the picture that, so that just maybe I could be looking at the.
It's this one,
Next to a neighbor for all I know.
It's this one right here, we want
Yeah,
to get
you
rid
wanna
of this
cut
tree,
this one
save,
out
save these.
And save, these are a
Yeah.
double,
I
right?
don't know if you can do it.
That
It's
would
gonna
be in
end
the
up
order of
being in the-
conditions. You can take this one down,
These
protect the
trees.
root ball
Yeah.
and everything else on
No,
this
no,
one
we're
here,
not.
and then build the rest of the
No.
plan
This is the one
As shown on this
It's
plan.
gonna put
You
the
okay
wall
with that?
kind of around your tree?
Well, it's gonna come right up to them.
I see, so it's just gonna be a little less.
Right.
Okay, that's, yeah.
I think I'm okay with that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so he's gonna move that so that he doesn't have to 50 feet.
I know, why
I don't think we ought to have Bill rework the plan though and bring it in to us.
Yeah,
Okay, so
probably, yeah.
we should continue
So I
this.
think you need to, yeah, we need a revised plan showing exactly where the wall's gonna go, because
Yeah.
right now it's it's right in the middle of the trees.
Savory,
So he's
Jim?
gonna have to shift it
Do you
around.
think?
Actually,
we
you're gonna
need
have to, yeah,
continue this
you
and
will. You'd have to
have
move the
bring it
wall a
in?
I would
little
like to
bit.
see other plans, yeah.
Yeah,
Just to make sure that we're all on the same page. What is it that we're asking?
to have the wall 3 feet back from the present
Right.
shoreline.
Okay.
And running straight across, and,
Okay.
No, he's gonna maintain the arch.
Yeah, I could maintain the arch, I don't
oh,
understand.
I
why
didn't
the
think he was, okay.
Yeah, it's as drawn. He's gonna get rid of we're gonna give him the okay to get rid of this tree, but he's gonna preserve the
But now
double
it's
tree.
15, now
Which
that,
means now this has to move anyway. This has to all move up if we're gonna make him keep the tree.
We could make the arch smaller.
has to, oh, yeah.
I'll make the arch smaller.
Or we may just make a well around the tree.
Yeah,
I think we're gonna, I think that's where it's gonna get, maybe perhaps, would it be possible to do, because we forced Sarah to do this, would it be possible
Oh,
to
we
do
have-
a revision?
we have to- yeah,
absolutely.
And
need
then
a
we
revised
can
plan.
approve as shown?
Sure.
So you want to keep the arch the way it is and give the,
I think architecturally, it's gonna look a lot nicer, and I think it's 6 or 1.5 the other, a
he's-
straight wall, a curved wall,
He's
it's
still
still a
keeping the
wall.
lawn,
but the straight wall would be 3 feet from the water, that's 15 feet from the water. It's a 15-foot beach.
but he's
There's
still,
already a beach there.
he's still not having lawn.
There isn't today. There's
Still
steps
have
right
lawn,
down to the
though.
water's edge.
I mean, it's not lawn. It won't be lawn.
Okay.
So that's what,
All right,
I don't know, you wanna-
how do we say no to the next person that wants a 100-foot arch?
That's what scares me, is, this is enlargement, so it's kind of like,
Well, I think we are replacing the footprint of the Versalock wall and the vegetation that's, I mean, as far as the distinction goes between somebody building a 100-foot arch versus what we've shown, the existing vegetation remains on each end of the Versalock wall, essentially is what we're trying to do.
I understand why it has to be so big. I just don't understand why it has to be so big. That's, it's just, I'm looking at this thing, it's 50 feet across, for crying out loud. It's huge.
Well, it's 70 when you consider it.
Yeah,
here.
70. When you figure the outside edges, I don't understand why it has to be so damn big. I mean, it makes it,
So you're actually creating beach with this arch?
yeah, we're adding
In the upland.
beach, we're adding everything. I don't understand why it has to be so damn big.
Well, that's the length of the existing wall.
Well, yeah, we could take the old wall down. I'm not even considering that. You're taking it away anyhow. But we could make that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the rest of the.
See, what it is they've got this little piece of beach right there, right? So now what they're gonna do is they're gonna run the beach just like this. So it's gonna be 10 times the size of what it is right now. And they're just turning it into what they're doing is turning it into a beach. That's what they're doing.
Yep.
That's exactly what they're doing.
I like the idea of having the wall being parallel with the water's edge 3 feet back. That gives a little bit of
Just 3 feet back.
sand.
Right,
It-
straight, parallel.
It gives a nice flow up the rest of the lawn.
So
It's
from-
far enough back to
so
protect it probably from most high water.
So from here to here is 3 feet.
would be 3 feet, yeah.
And it doesn't
That's one
enlarge the
thing we
beach.
didn't do yet.
He's right, as far as the next
There you
guy.
go, 3 feet, right there, boom.
That's where the problem comes in.
See
And
what
I
he's
would
saying,
just think,
square it off
if
only
the
3
next
feet
guy
back?
has an existing wall,
Yeah, 3 feet back. And a hell of a lot shorter, if that's me, I don't know.
Just up the shoreline a little.
Next thing you know, Save would be trying to do this at his house, you know?
Yeah, what are you doing with these old blocks?
Save would come over by boat and take them away for you.
I think we just have a note to be legally disposed of. I think that's how we handle it.
Give him
I
the
could
wall
use
3
those
feet back
blocks.
straight,
Bring 'em
and that's
home.
it, call it a day.
Okay, so,
all right.
that's
Anyway,
what
We're
we
gonna figure this
I
out
think
here.
that's what
They're allowed to
I'd
take
like
one
to see.
tree.
I'd be happier with that.
The straight one.
The straight one, 3
Right.
feet, 5 feet back from the water's edge.
3 feet back from the water's edge.
go 3 feet, 5 feet, 2 feet.
Whatever
That's-
makes the most sense for the.
We have to come to one figure. We have
Okay,
to,
Well,
straight wall.
you said 3 feet, I'll go with 3.
3 feet, straight wall, take one tree. Boom.
3 feet straight wall,
Okay.
one tree.
Take
and
one
how long will that straight wall be? The same length as this one that's?
It's got 70
70
feet there, that's
Yeah.
a little bit.
You could probably do it with
50.
60 feet or
50
50
feet.
even, yeah.
Or, do a cutout around the tree roots.
He's doing it the
50
length
feet,
of the
50
existing wall,
feet,
that's why.
straight wall, 3 feet back, take
Why-
one
I
tree.
mean, where are you getting the 50-foot number from?
Well,
just
because
decide that's a
if
nice
you look
number?
at the,
That's the problem.
look at the opening, look at the opening.
That's
But
what the
that's-
drawing states.
That's what the drawing, look at the drawing.
It's 70, you said.
That's to the outside of the tapered edge on the other end. If you go
Right.
to the inside, which you should be, you'd be 50 feet.
That's a point.
I think
50
the
feet.
wall, I think the wall is 70 feet in length.
Yeah, so
That's
we're
what
gonna
we,
go to
that's
50
what we
feet.
came up with,
That's-
70. I mean,
70
it
is
wasn't
because you're
magically,
tapering it like
our
this.
number
Right.
Then
just
let's
didn't.
just say
Well,
that
this
the
is
width
50.
of the current
How
wall.
about do this? How about we just say within the footprint of the existing
That's
wall?
just
and
what I
then-
said.
And then that covers
The-
that
the-
base.
Of
The
what?
same width of the
Of the
current
existing wall.
And
Yeah.
protecting those trees on the
Correct.
south. That's fine.
One tree.
Existing wall is
Straight
60
wall,
feet
3
long.
feet back.
Right.
That's what it
Okay.
says.
All right,
within the footprint of the existing Versalock wall.
yes.
Send us some drawings.
That's,
We can do more drawings.
right, but here it shows.
I'll revise the plan, I'll
Continue
revise the
the
plan and
count.
get it to you.
Amen.
That's in the center,
Right.
unfortunately.
Okay, I'm with you. So this a motion to continue,
Save karma.
Are we,
or do you want public
going to
comment? or-
continue? Yeah.
Yeah,
Continue.
good for a revised plan.
Do we have, is there anybody in the, that would like to comment? Anybody, butters or anything here?
Oh, don't you dare.
Go ahead, we can start all over again.
Don't listen to him.
Look
All right.
so forward to that tonight with you.
So let's, what do you think, Bill? 2 weeks or a month? would
We'll
be
have,
better?
well, the next meeting's the 20th.
Okay, the 20th, okay.
Yeah, but he's gotta redraw plans and stuff.
That's,
He
you
could
know, that'll
going
be done
Disney
tomorrow.
because the guy-
Oh, he can do it, he'll have it done.
He has all the spare time in the world, right?
I just have somebody that can do the work.
20th, good?
No, I'll be there, the next meeting is fine.
20th,
I'll have it done.
20th of February.
Make a motion to continue the 88 South Main Street, notice of intent to the next meeting of the Conservation Commission, which is February 20th.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded to continue this hearing till the 20th of February. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Pass unanimous.
Okay, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Thanks for your patience.
That's how we reinvent the wheel around here.
Not a problem at all.
Reinvent the wall.
I don't know, 3 foot back.
We couldn't go to that. Thank you.
Okay. Now we've arrived at 31 Rear Main Street.
Oh, my lordy, that one's forever, didn't it?
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the Mass Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaw. The public hearing will be held at 7:30 PM on Wednesday, February 6, 2019, Meeting Room 1, Carver Town Hall. Here the notice of intent submitted by Cranberry Point Energy Storage LLC for the proposed construction of a 150 megawatt lithium-ion battery storage facility that will contain approximately 128 battery storage systems containers for the storage of electricity. The proposed storage facility will also include a small internal substation and a low voltage, medium voltage equipment supported by concrete pads. A new 16-foot wide gravel roadway, approximately 530 feet in length, will also be constructed off the existing access roadway from Main Street. The proposed facility is located within the 100-foot buffer from wetland resource bordering vegetated wetland, protected under the regulations bylaw. Project is located at 31 Rear Main Street, Carver, Mass., map 61, lots 10-0-R and 7-0-R, Carver, Mass. All interested parties are invited to attend. Okay, and we have with us, sir?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. With Richard Cirque, with Cirque
And Kelvin.
and Kelman. Okay. I'm Gary Garfield. I'm with Sovereign Energy. And I have Matt Devlin, who is the wetland scientist from AECom here today. Did you have anything you wanted to?
So we have had a chance to walk the property twice. We took some of the members out that hadn't made it the first time, and went Saturday. So, do you have any questions, Alan, that you wanted to?
I actually did not. We walked out on it Saturday, Brooke, myself, and Jim, because I'm the guy who can't go out on Wednesdays. So they were so gracious to take me over there on Saturday. I think it's a great idea. I don't have a big problem with it. I did get a hold of the Carver Fire Department and asked them what their thoughts were on battery storage. From that standpoint, just because I'm nosy and we're dealing with some bylaw reviews on that stuff. And I didn't see a problem. There was that little wet area down where you've got it all
Flag,
marked
yep.
off now, and it doesn't appear you're gonna be really messing with that too much anyhow.
Get that to Tim.
So I think, from what I could see, that was all marked off. I didn't see a big problem with any of it. It's tucked out, it's underneath all the high-tension wires anyway, so it doesn't need to be a work of art, and it's certainly not gonna be any more obtrusive than all of the gear that's within that fenced area at the high-tension wires now, so.
It's going to be beautiful.
Where is it? Is this the unit right there?
These are those modular units from
Oh,
Tesla,
yeah, I
right?
know that, but you said they were talking about the lithium storage.
All this, all these purple things.
You're kidding.
Those are Tim's
I
questions.
think this is the project that got me a free cup of coffee from the planning board, from Stephen Cole, because he thought
It
it
is.
had
Oh.
fire suppression.
Oh.
It is.
Yeah, that's them. That was my free coffee.
Oh, that's what Tim wanted to see.
What's referred to as a mega pack, and what it basically has 7 or 8, what almost look like oversized lockers, like you'd have in, high school.
How tall are they?
He didn't give us any
They
small
are
ones.
7 feet 8 inches tall.
Okay.
And,
They look a lot bigger there.
well, that's because I'm short.
They look like 5 stories ago.
One thing I like about these a lot, and the part that bothered me when this was first talked about, maybe even a year ago, was they were gonna put them in shipping containers, and all I could think of was a steel shipping container. 2 years down the road, it's a rust bucket.
Yeah.
And it's unsightly and it's horrible. These are pretty sharp looking, they look like, and they're modular, right? So,
Yeah, what happens typically is, I know it's hard to see here, but, for example.
Oh, here we go.
There's 4
Thank
of those mega packs that are lumped together, and then the transformers are on the ends of those. And ultimately, when we go back and look at this, there is no space, and you mentioned when you talked to the fire department, and I've had a couple of meetings with the fire department, and initially, when we first approached the TRC, we explained that, these were like a shipping container. And so I think the fire department and others started, that you can really relate to that. But that's not what's being proposed. We tried to give you an image of
Right.
that. And so much so that the fire department had commented that they wanted gas detection systems, so when they send their firemen into these.
that's what we all thought. We all thought you'd be stepping inside the container and there'd be a bank of batteries, because nobody had a real functioning
Right.
picture of what was going on.
And with these things being, I think this is 5 feet deep, and it's packed full of batteries. So there is no,
There's no crawling inside the
nobody
unit.
goes in. In fact, the manufacturer says that if one of these were to catch fire, don't open the front door and fight it that way. They've taken an individual unit and done a burn test on it. And what they find is within 3 hours, the thing burns itself out. And they're designed to burn down in as opposed to burn horizontally. So at the end of the day, these are designed to have, be controlled if there is a fire. Now, without really going too far down the road on the fire protection, we have had a number of meetings with the fire department, with Jesse Boyle and Deputy Chief Germain. And we've agreed that we're going to work with them to develop a contingency plan or emergency response plan.
Right.
So, I don't want to go too far down the road on the fire aspect of it at this point. We will have a fire protection engineer on board when we go ahead and get into the quote design phase.
The only question I would have, the only other question, through the chair, if you don't mind, Jim, in a worst-case scenario, what's the most that can leak out of this thing, and how far can it leak to? I know they're not lead acid, I know they're lithium ion, but assuming everything melts down, and does any of this stuff turn into a liquid? Can the liquid then leach
Penetrate it to the ground.
into the ground, into the wetlands?
What we are looking at is ways to deal, there's a small amount of glycol and water that's in each one of these units, and that is used as a coolant.
Right.
Okay, and the way these are set up is each one of those has in it, it has the battery cell, which are small 3-inch long cells. And there's a number of those, 144 of those, that are connected together in a tray. And then I think there's 16 trays that go into this. So on the cell level, the temperature, amperage, and voltage is monitored. So, and that's monitored 24/7. So what ultimately happens is, if these start to get hot, we know that there's an issue. And we can set the range at which it shuts down. And we can shut down a we can shut down the modules, we can go ahead, or the trays rather, we can shut down the whole
whole
locker,
bank, yeah.
if you will. So, you know, the primary objective of this technology is to go ahead and avoid getting into a situation where you have a fire. So you're monitoring this 24/7, and ultimately, if you did have a fire, and the burn test that they did, it took a propane tank, a large propane tank, with 3 jets coming at the side of this to try and get it to light up. And then,
How long?
What's that?
How long?
I believe it was about 20 minutes or so to get it to catch on fire.
So they don't have a firewall between the,
They do.
they do, okay.
So that, and yeah, it's steel, so you go ahead and you heat that up, and that heat then dissipates
Oh, right,
inside. I did provide a reference to the fire department for the document, the burn test, and they do have it. They actually found it through NFPA. I had gotten a copy of it through Tesla.
But
So
they both
you
said
te-
they had no problem with it.
So you're telling me that between each one of those lockers, there's a firewall?
Well, you have a locker.
Right.
And on the inside, you know, the wall. is-
Yeah,
the-
they're metal, yeah.
The container itself.
Right.
Has firewall on 3 sides.
Because they're metal, not because it's a firewall.
I don't know technically how that cross-section is, whether it's metal, composite metal, or whether it's all solid metal, but they're designed to contain the fire within the locker.
I would expect almost a double wall, because wouldn't you
Yeah.
have
It,
That
a
would seem-
module, so you could have double walls
I'm
between the.
I'm trying to think this through, yeah.
you know, all of this.
But I
is
think
so-
that's a moot point to us anyway.
Back up to each other.
Yeah, they're side
as the
by
fire
side, so
department
there's.
Yes.
My concern, and you really didn't answer my question, my concern was assuming the whole thing melts down, and they put this out with a hose, which is electricity, but in any case, they put this out with water. I'm not concerned about the glycol, that's pretty
Understood.
benign. What else is in these,
Just the lithium ion.
and where does that go? Does it melt, does it turn to liquid, does it turn to powder, does it turn to something?
Our initial discussions hinged on, and again, I can't go too far down this road because I don't want to tell you something and not have
Right.
the facts for it. But the way this conversation is going right now with the fire department is that we would talk about this, you know, we develop this emergency response plan, and it might look like, don't hold me to it, it might look like the fire department responds, they see that this unit here is on fire, and they put water on this unit and this unit to keep it cool. And they watch the thing and they just let it burn into itself. Okay, and as long as they're not, you know, dumping water into that unit, and that all comes out in the preparation and the training that we need
Right.
to provide to the fire department. If it goes that way, then we're not gonna have liquids. We're gonna end up having ash. And that way, especially, you know, in the environment that we have out there, groundwater's relatively shallow. You know, it's not like we're in Denver where we go down a mile to get to water. So ultimately, you know, we would want it to burn itself out. Now, during the burn test, they did 2 things. They did the external, like I've talked about, and then they also went ahead and they had it light up internally. That fire burned itself out in about an hour and a half.
Where did you have this test done?
This test was done through National Fire Protection
But where?
Agency. This was, I'm not sure where it was done.
So it wasn't done around here?
No, absolutely not. And we did find out that they will be doing another burn test sometime in February, March of this year.
Do you know
So-
where?
We've asked if we could possibly send somebody from the Carver Fire Department. We were told that, no, that the consultant, it's the fire protection engineer and NFPA, New York City Fire Department and whatnot. There's about a dozen agencies that are already involved, and they're really not to the point where they want to go ahead and have a lot of spectators.
Right.
We tried to pitch it on, hey, this is one of 4, 5, 6, 7 projects in New England, and wouldn't it be nice if we could send somebody from Carver Fire Department to see it, get trained on it, then they could be the spokesperson for the other Tesla, you know, projects. But at this point in time, we don't have a seat at that table.
These are gonna wind up in city square blocks in New York City.
AECom has done one of these out in California that is in a city block, and I was talking to the engineer that's permitting that one and explaining what we're doing with
Right.
TRC and, planning board and whatnot here, and he kind of laughed at me and he said, we just went to the city and it's in Palmerado, California. The only thing that the town or the city had to say about the whole project was, you need to put a nice fence up, and your sidewalk can't be 8 feet, it's gotta be 6 feet. So, it's,
Well, that's California.
yeah,
What else comes out of California?
I won't answer that.
I have some concerns, but if the fire department approves this, I don't have a problem.
Yeah, I don't either.
But I want to make sure the fire department approves this.
That'll be next week.
That's what I'm looking at. What do you think, Jim?
I'm quite sure they will. They won't allow it unless they approve it.
I'm sorry?
They won't allow it unless they approve
That's what I'm
it.
thinking. So
And they've
let
got to
them-
allow
if
it
they
before it can be
If the
built.
fire department says it's cool, then I'm good with it.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, the conversation that I had, and I had it with the two deputies, and with Eric and with Jesse, and also with Craig. And Craig, first words out of his mouth was, I'm not getting involved in any of this because this is family property. So he could very easily sit back and try to slide this through, but it's not his way of doing things at all. So he said, this has all been given to Eric and Jesse, and I have nothing to do with this whatsoever, because it's part of the family. So I have nothing but confidence in Jesse and Eric, and I appreciate the integrity that Craig showed by sitting back saying, I'm out of this.
Okay.
So I have no problem with this, and I was not crazy about this when it was
So-
talked about being inside a container and stuff.
Yeah, that's
I
what
think this
scares
is
me a little
fine
bit.
looking, I think this doesn't look bad, it's in the woods.
What's the lifetime expectancy of one of those containers?
We're looking at about Richard, about 20-year, I think 20-year lease or something to that extent. Usually, most of your power generation, your solar and other, are minimum of, 15, 20, 25 years. With options to continue on if life is good.
Well, I'm concerned about the physical readiness of the unit itself. Do you know how long it's guaranteed for? I don't care how long a contract you have or anything else. I want to know how long that unit is
What's
good
its
for.
life?
At least 20 years.
20 years? Oh, all right. That won't be
And
here.
like everything else, as they upgrade the lithium ion, they'll pull out the
They'll pull
trays,
out,
put
put
in
new
new
stuff
style
in, yeah.
trays.
And that's an interesting, or a good point too, because one of the things that we have been very consistent about throughout all the TRC and planning board meetings is that this technology is new. If you go on to the website and you look up battery, utility scale battery storage, you'll see people that are all excited about a 5 megawatt project. These are 150, but they're all projects that you can keep adding on to. So at the end of the day, we're looking for the best technology out there. We've said that we'll come back once NL, the parent company, or the end user, will select their equipment. We'll come back and say, okay, this is what was selected, and then we'll take it from there. But right now, this technology is what we're using in all the other sites that we're
Right.
looking at as
And
well.
5 years from now, this will be technology that went in the trash, and there'll be a whole brand-new line of
That could
something
be.
that this could be converted into and upgraded to, and so forth and so on. So,
We can't work on what ifs, but I agree with you.
So,
Is this
can't
set
do
of
anything
plans the
until
latest?
fire department approves
117?
it. We're okay.
Yes,
Right.
yep.
Because this is a little
Wetlands-wise.
different array, but
I'm
this is
good
what
with
I
it.
remember from the site walk.
Wetlands wise, it's minimal.
Okay.
so do you have any abutters that have any questions about this? Yeah, please come in, sign in.
My name's Ed Garner. I live on Peltola Lane, and I necessarily wasn't against the project. I didn't know much about it until I got here tonight. And I'm in a little shock. I've never been to one of these meetings before, and I sat here and saw Carver residents trying to cut trees down. And there was some refusal from the panel for cutting trees down. And here we have this project going out there, which again, like I said, I was not against. I've been out there, I've seen where it's all staked out. And the gentleman didn't answer either question that you asked about the fire department and what's leaking in the ground. He said there'd be ash. I find that hard to believe, first of all. But what I'm really opposed to is the addition of the width on the road, in which road it's going to be.
That's going to be the service road that goes in off of 58, just next to that house that Gary Weston used to live in, okay?
So that road's
31,
30
so
feet now.
that's why this is called 31 rear, which is,
So that road's 30 feet now,
yeah.
wide.
The entry road off of Main Street?
It's 30
Well, the
feet wide.
layout for it is.
100 feet long,
It's 30 feet wide.
16 feet wide at the two gate posts.
It's 30 feet wide
The-
inside the post. You want to take the
Yeah.
fence down, I have a problem with that.
Okay. The layout of it is 30 feet.
I
That
think you're at the wrong entrance.
No, I was out there, my house is right there. Peltola, yeah.
That's not us.
Oh, it's coming out, just, you know where the dip is in the highway?
No.
It's on
58.
58.
Okay, down, as you go, come out of Peltola,
Okay.
turn south, and go down, and you'll come to that last house before the dip where they built the big.
Okay, I misunderstood. But
okay,
I'm
yeah.
still, now that I've heard what I've heard about the project tonight, I'm actually opposed to it. And I can't believe you guys were arguing about a man cutting down a tree on waterfront property, and you're gonna put this out in that land. And it's not gonna affect my property, it's pretty far back, but there's a lot more than a little bit of wetlands out there. And I'm in shock, to tell you the truth.
There actually
They're
isn't.
outside the.
I walk out there almost every day.
They're outside the
I'll go down there, I'll
65.
go down there with you tomorrow.
They're outside the area. We walked it Saturday.
Here's the wetlands map.
There was a gentleman sitting here that had wood piled to heat his house. And you
Well,
were,
I
and you were,
take- I-
and you were in
honestly,
dispute, just let me finish. And you were disputing with the gentleman about how many feet he had. And I know you're gonna continue that project, but there's a lot more wetlands closer to that. It's within 100 feet. When you go out to that project and you walk
Yes.
back on that road, let me finish, please. When you go out to that project and you walk down that road, there's a trail through there, from the dirt bikes being ridden back there, and from work they've been done. And then as you go down, it sort of slopes off down towards the cranberry bog, there's wetlands right there.
Yes, we understand that. We've been out there 3
That's within
times.
100 feet of where they're marked.
Okay, now, let us talk, please.
Go ahead.
Okay, we've looked at it, and it fits in with the protections that we give to the wetlands. And this will not be endangering them, okay? Maybe you're just not as aware as you might be about the need for the power grid to have backup capability. That's what this is. The big power grids that flow across New England need backup capability in case of bad storms or, God forbid, somebody messing with the computer's link, our friends over in Moscow possibly. So the idea is that these battery systems would be able to bring the grid back up if it goes down for one reason or another. It's a storage thing, just like you may have a generator at your house to use in case your electricity fails. Well, this is a sort of a generator for the power system. It's a kickstart battery to use. And they're going in all across the country in a number of places. And it is not, it's the safest thing that we can find so far to put it in.
But I mean, wetlands-wise, the
Yeah.
wetlands were identified in the field.
Yes.
And
Can you come here for a second?
March was there.
distances are taken from,
Can I just answer that?
The
You're
delineation.
missing my point. My point isn't that what these guys are doing isn't unnecessary. I understand that. What I'm saying is there's wetlands back there, and I just sat here for 45 minutes and listened to people
It's a
concerned
different
about
case,
logs.
a different
Let
type
me
of
finish,
situation.
please.
No.
Let me finish, please.
You've said enough, I think. I
I think I have.
really think that you're just repeating your questions.
The green
Sir,
line is the 65.
We take,
So red line is the 65, the green is the 100. None of this project is within the 65. We frequently give the okay to go between the 65 and the 100. We're not gonna allow battery storage come rolling in and wipe out wetlands. And that's what you're alluding to, because we don't care about the wetlands.
No,
That's not true at all.
No, I'm not saying that. I didn't say
So-
that at all.
Well, just so you see it, this is the 100, the green, the red is the 65. None of this project is going within the 65. A small portion of this project is gonna need a variance for the 100, which is a standard operating procedure on every single solar project we've done in this town. Am I wrong?
Right.
No.
Well, sir, I think people come before us with many different issues. Notices of intent, people who want to take trees down in wetlands, people who want to build big projects like this. We have to address each and every project. If I can save one tree, I'm gonna save it. If I could save something on this, I'm gonna save it. I do what I think is best for the town, best for the environment. I cannot just stamp something like this and let a little thing go by. Because you let that little thing that you're talking about go by, everybody else is gonna be doing the same thing. So what we try to do is make sure we regulate everything, the notices of intent. We see a violation, we take care of it. Whether it's small or large, everything has to be addressed. You can't address one little wetlands thing and let another big wetlands thing go. You have to address everything as a whole. Regardless of what you think, we keep an eye on one tree as much as we keep an eye on a big project. That's what we do. We're environmentalists. We're all trained, we know what we're looking at, and we do the best we can for the town, for the state, and for the environment. We follow what they call 310 CMR. You go take a look at it, it's on the website, it'll tell you all about the wetlands and what we're responsible for. Not only that, but in our town, we have a special bylaw that doesn't allow anything built within 65 feet, period, unless you have a special variance. We're very careful about what we do here. We're very proud of what we do here. We donate all our time. We don't get paid for this. We
And we try to
donate
be
our
fair.
time. We're all educated.
So
We
it
know what we're doing.
becomes a balancing act. Tim's 100% right.
You
We
can't
try to
just
follow
let
the
one thing
laws
go.
and still
You
make
gotta-
it a
you gotta
balancing
follow
act.
every-
I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying.
That's the impression I got, that you
Well,
didn't
I
think-
apologize for that.
When you came
What-
up and said one tree, it isn't just one tree, it's many trees that are like that one tree.
It's many trees, and like I said before I came here tonight, I was not opposed to this project at all. But when I heard what you were saying tonight about other people's projects, or other people's personal property, and then you're gonna allow that to go back there,
Well, if
I
it's,
don't understand
One has
the
nothing
common
to do with
sense.
the other, don't you see?
No, I don't. It's wetlands. That's all I'm
What's
looking
being
at.
done over here has
Not
nothing to
doing
do with the guy on Sampson's Pond, and has nothing to do with my backyard and Jim's backyard. They're all individual. And Mr. Shirkey will testify to the fact that I've said many times that every single project that's done before the Conservation Commission is unique unto itself.
that's
I don't
exactly
care
right.
how many times it's been done in the past, because that's all unique to that situation. And the next ones coming down the road have nothing to do with what's going on here tonight. That'll be unique to that situation. This is a project that's been mapped out, drawn out, and 99.9% of this project doesn't even need to be in front of us. The only reason it's here before conservation at all is because of the small area that touches on the 100. Otherwise, they'd never be here.
They'd be at the planning board.
They'd be at the planning board.
May I ask you a question? Were you basing your concerns about this based on flagging that you had seen out there where you thought construction was going to be?
Yeah, there's a lot of flagging.
Yeah, and the marks on the trees.
Okay.
No.
There are orange marks on the,
Marks on the trees
Yep.
are there because you guys, the planning board asked us for a tree count. So it looks like somebody had a paintball war in there.
Right.
There's all these orange spots over those trees.
Right.
That has nothing to do with wetlands.
Right.
The pink flags that have these designations like W214, W216, those are the wetlands flags. This gentleman was out there as a wetland scientist and personally looked at the trees, looked at the brush, and looked at the ground, and then determined where those flags were, and then moved on and delineated those wetlands. So this isn't off of a Massachusetts state wetlands map. This is an environmental scientist.
Physically done, they
out
were
in the
physically out
field.
there doing it. Yeah, you were physically out there doing it. Did you take any perk
We have
tests? Down
the delineation forms, Tim.
Profiles, certainly.
And we have some data forms? the DEP data forms that show how he decided where the wetland line is.
Right.
So where's the border of it gonna be? How can you tell me to go out there and look at it? How far to, see, we have all those markers as I look at on the right side of the screen.
I can take you there if you want to.
Yeah, I'll go out
Are you work during the day probably,
Yeah.
right? Okay, I think I'm free this Saturday, so,
After 2?
after 2? Yeah, I guess so. Why, what's going
Before
on?
dark.
I work.
Work before, okay.
And honestly,
If you
I
go out there-
I wasn't opposed to it at all until I saw the meeting tonight. And I don't understand.
I have to
a lot.
say, this nation has a tradition of change. We did, in the early 1800s, start introducing railroads. People objected to them. Now we've adjusted to them. Okay, then when they started introducing horseless carriages, and, drove people that were driving horses on the road really crazy. Now everybody has 15 vehicles in their yard, so it's a process of change. The electric system needs this as part of it's kind of the protection against problems in the future, and that we never thought we'd had. 4 years ago, the Conservation Commission had to walk a route across Carver and all the way down to basically the Wareham line to look at a new transmission line that had to go in. The state had mandated there had to be a backup line for the main feeds that go from Central Mass down to the Cape. And, they decided this was needed. We have to accept it. It cut through a cedar swamp. We look to make sure that as much as possible, the land was protected. But these are things we have to do as part of adjusting to society. If you have a school put in. Is the school going to be safe, or do we have somebody with a gas station 15 feet away? Should you try and move that? There's a town up in Central Mass that's all upset because a neighboring property owner put in a propane storage, or a liquid natural gas storage, only 200 feet from the school, a new school, huge storage tanks. And they're fighting that still.
Thanks, Jim.
I just want to add one thing. Any company that's going to put in something of this scope, whether it be battery storage, solar, anything, the first thing that they do is delineate the wetlands. Then they put their pieces in away from the wetlands, because they know if they come to us and they don't do that, we're going to say no. That's exactly what's been done here. All of these units are outside the wetlands designation that we have jurisdiction over.
That's right.
So,
They've jumped through all the right hoops. I know you're not gonna
If you
buy
have an
it, but
issue with
they
this,
have.
you could talk to the planning board, or you can go to the fire department and ask them about the storage.
There's nothing in the 65.
The area is one that's heavily used now by the introduction of the transmission lines coming down, and they just, was about 8 or 10 years ago, they rebuilt that yard there with the switching yard, and that's much, probably twice as big as it was before. Then they added, they have the cell tower that was put in.
Yeah.
This is going to go right around the cell tower area. So this is all part of modern life, unfortunately. We want to play with our toys. We have to put in the gadgets to allow it.
We've got a couple more to go through here.
All right, so you coming by my house Saturday?
Got a pen and pencil?
Did you sign
Here you
in?
go.
No, I did not.
Why don't you sign in with your,
My cell phone number on it?
yeah, name and address and phone number, and then Jim will give you a call, and
That's
Right,
cool.
I come down in my Kia. Oh, no, it's a,
Oh, yeah, where did you see that?
it's a Scion.
you might just meet him right at the entrance to the,
I can come
Thanks a lot, guys.
Okay.
you.
have a good night.
I think you'll be reassured when you see it.
okay.
Okay. Anybody else? You ladies, no?
Amen.
Okay,
All right.
good.
I like the shirt, by the way.
Make a motion that we close the hearing?
We don't have just to issue it, you mean?
Oh, you do have a number.
Where's the number?
It's not on there. I didn't have when they did the agenda.
But it's
Came
not
after.
on here.
Is that on the
It's
plans?
on the order, no, just.
It's not-
Don't.
You can't hit me on the camera.
I'll hit.
Don't hit me on film, great.
This abuse, is this abuse, Rich?
All
We
right,
have a good relationship.
all right, let's. You wanna
I'm
go to
sorry,
close
go
the meeting?
ahead. You want the
Sorry.
number?
Yeah.
He needs the number.
Oh, okay, sorry, 579 is the DEP file number.
Okay, I move that we close the hearing on 31R Main Street, DEP 579.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to close the hearing for DEP file number 579. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Pass unanimous.
You didn't even need an environmentalist today.
All right, I'll make a,
Yeah, we, all that work, Matt.
I'll make a motion that we approve the plans as submitted with conditions as set forth by the
Yep.
agent.
And
By the
we
fire
could, we
department.
could just put a condition for the, you know, the fire department approval.
By the fire
or
department,
something.
set
Yeah,
forth by the fire
yeah,
department.
we'll add
Okay.
a condition on that.
DEP is SE 126-579.
Yeah.
You want to add that to your motion?
Yeah, we didn't get, the- we
Okay,
didn't get.
all
the
right, so
report 2 days
to my
ago.
motion, that we approve 31R Main Street, SE 126-579, as, the plans as submitted, with conditions of both the agent and the fire department.
I'll second.
Okay. It's been moved to issue, what are we issuing, a order of conditions? Okay. It's been moved to issue an order of conditions for DEP, what, 126-579?
Yep.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, pass unanimous.
That was easy.
That was it? So good?
I'm a little concerned about those storage units, but we'll see.
Thank you.
I've seen what lithium does, so it's got me a little worried.
Oh, you can?
Yeah,
so I
the
can.
spelling is on the check is right on this name. What?
P, ends with a P and ends with
Jesus, now.
a S. Yeah, then I can record that for you. Okay.
We take cash.
All I have is big bills.
That's all right.
That's what we take.
As long as you have 4 of them.
Oh, good God, I'm only kidding, everybody.
Yes, please, I know.
Oh, God.
We'll be on Facebook tomorrow morning.
It'll be on Facebook tomorrow. That's why I gave up on it.
So it would be to the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds.
All right,
$77.
Crystal Lake Drive.
See Richard Sirkey for 1 second.
I don't know about that.
Oh, boy. Yeah, mate. I didn't expect all this stuff to make it do.
I got up.
Patola, he's so
He's getting big.
Yeah, yeah. So he thought the access road was coming from Patola.
He's up to 100 pounds.
And he seems like an alert person, but he just doesn't.
Got a little more growing to go.
And he's looking at the cranberry bogs for wetlands. You're nowhere near the cranberry bogs. I mean, there's that finger. Well, but the finger comes in. That was the one that we were looking at.
He likes its place in the
But
middle.
I think he's
think
thinking
my
of other
space in the
wetlands,
middle.
I think. He's looking
That's
out,
why
he
he's never
said
allowed on the
bogs.
bed.
Well, I think the
So
other
which
thing
were
that
kind of on the other side.
realize is your earlier hearing you had, they were doing things within 65 feet.
Oh, easily.
We're not.
And in the
And
wetlands,
that's,
yes.
and you
Right.
pointed out that this is what our bylaws are.
Right.
It's amazing the difference between a homeowner working on his property and somebody coming in and working on some
I know.
industrial project like
Because usually the homeowners are the worst ones.
Yeah. Those ones right up along the shore, Sam says.
Right. Okay, perfect.
Do you have another business card?
I do, let me grab it.
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's keep going here, guys.
Yep.
So, what do you think is next? Does it look like that?
Crystal Lake.
Oh, that's what those ladies are here for.
Hey,
Okay.
Bill, you're up again. I hope this will be easier.
Okay.
Okay. Got one last public hearing to read there.
Yeah.
He's getting to it.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the Mass Wetlands Protection Act and Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaw. The public hearing will be held at 7:45 PM on Wednesday, February 6, 2019, in Meeting Room 1 at Carver Town Hall. Your notice of intent submitted by Kevin Aragon to raise the existing single-family dwelling and construct a new dwelling in approximately the same location. Approximately? There's a question there, okay. Install a new septic system and a new well with associated utilities and grading. Existing dwelling is presently located within the 65 and 100-foot buffer zone to Vaughn's Pond, and a variance has been requested for the proposed work within the 65-foot buffer protected under the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Project is located at 77 Crystal Lake Drive,
Yep.
Carver, Mass. Map 62, Lot 43. All interested parties are invited to attend.
This is unique.
Everything in Crystal Lake is unique.
The septic to her well. Look at this.
65's in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Look at, we're gonna put posts in the,
Wasn't there a driveway here somewhere?
so that's not on
This has been before.
No.
the, you know what I mean?
This isn't the main
They're
back
supposed to-
road or is it like- Okay.
They can't.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's down here.
No way.
That was what, 73 or 73?
Impossible.
Okay, we are ready.
You ready?
Yes, we are.
I'm Bill Madden from GF Engineering here on behalf of Kevin Aragon. Essentially, this is a tear down and rebuild of an existing structure and in construction of a new Title V septic system for to accommodate the new house, the newly constructed house. The house is essentially being constructed in its same footprint, virtually its same footprint. It is the same size. But what we tried to do is center it a little more on the lot to obtain a little bit better side yard setback. Conditions plan on the top of the plan, you can see that, I think on the north side, that it's a 0.7-foot side yard setback in that area. And by moving the house a little bit more to the south, we're able to obtain an 8-foot setback. So for whatever that's worth, I mean, that's the reason why we're moving the house a little bit, is to be a little more compliant with the zoning regulations. And there's a deck on the house, a smaller deck is proposed, but essentially, that's what the project consists of, is a new Title V system in a newly constructed home. You can see there's quite a few variances that are being requested from the Board of Health. You know, many of them associated with the local upgrade approval and requirements and what have you. So essentially, it's really trying to get everything as far away and make the best fit you possibly can, given what we have to work with over there in that neighborhood. It's all very tight and congested, as you all know. So this was the plan that we came up with, and the list of waivers that we need from the Board of Health. Board of Health meeting is next week. These waivers have not yet been granted, but I think the expectation is that they all will be granted, as they're relatively routine for work that's being conducted in that area. So essentially, that's pretty much what we have.
So the waivers from the Board of Health, is it the well and the septic setbacks and? I think
Yeah,
there's
it's
one, right, 'cause you
side
can't-
yard setback.
Oh, side yard, okay.
It's distance from your foundation
Yeah.
to the house. You know, the whole list, there's a half a dozen of them
Yeah.
on the list. The soil absorption system.
Oh, okay, yep,
Distance from from a well,
right,
you know, so we're.
of our affair.
right. I mean, there's nothing you can do out here.
Well, I
it's
mean,
none
I
of our
think
affair anyhow.
I think that the way you need to look at it is that, provided that the waivers are granted, the presumption is that a Title V septic system that's approved by the Board of Health
Right.
with their waivers is essentially,
Better than a cesspool.
it's better than a cesspool, but is consistent with what
Right.
the wetlands regulations call for.
Yeah,
It's the best that's available.
yeah.
That's all you got on that piece of property.
So,
Does the current dwelling have a full basement? Or, like, it looked like the back door there was low, like maybe a 5-foot height, or?
A crawl space, I think, is what is under it, but I am not
Okay.
100% on that. There's no bulkhead shown on the,
No, it was a hinged door, but it was not certainly full height. It was
yeah.
probably about a
It's gonna
5-foot,
be a crawl space.
and there was a window back there underneath the deck. Are they proposing a full basement?
I don't know the answer to that question.
I'm thinking more about excavation.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of filling in for Brian Grady on this one, so that detail is one that I'm not sure of.
Well, I don't see any protection in the back.
50-foot minimum.
What is that? That's all?
Yeah, but don't forget that slope.
Oh, more than that.
Pretty flat.
Just thinking about all that stuff being hauled out of Crystal Lake, it's gonna be a little mind-boggling.
When they start drilling, this shit's gonna come flying out of that well.
Shouldn't, it should run.
I would definitely put hay bales on the other side of that.
She has a right to worry about, that's Board of Health, that's not.
There was something about hay bales the other day.
I would, may I make a suggestion on the, on the, erosion protection? I just see all I see is one silt fence. I don't see anything else anywhere. Yeah, I would, because of when you're drilling a well, you know how much sludge comes out of the ground when they're drilling a well. I would ask the chair if we could add hay bales to the back side of that, silt fence, just because of everything look how close to the water you are. You gotta protect it a little bit better than just a silt fence. They dig it down 1 foot the way they're supposed to, and you get a good sludge run, it's gonna go right over that silt fence.
Where's the current?
So I would like to see if we could put some hay bales on the back side of that for reinforcement, double pin per bale.
Yeah, that would sound wise in this situation.
Because there's a lot of sludge. When they start drilling, you've seen that, Al.
Yeah.
You start
yeah,
drilling, that stuff comes flying out of there.
That's right.
So make it a double silt fence and hay bale.
Something. You gotta
We're
do
gonna
something.
stop all that runoff into the pond. And
Yeah, you gotta
we,
stop
I
it.
was down there Saturday, I actually went down again with Jim and Brooke. I mean, the land runs right, it's here
Right
and then you're
down
in
to
the
it.
water. I mean, if
Yeah.
the water level of that pond comes up literally 6 inches, the backyard will go away.
Yeah, so you gotta put something back there.
I don't know if it's like quite that bad.
Well, maybe a foot.
Okay.
I know there were some
Good
interesting
rainstorm.
sounds, because you could hear the
exaggerated.
water underneath the ice. We sat
yeah,
there
that was
listening to
weird.
it banging off the ice and stuff. It's pretty interesting. The site is an impossible site, and it's one of those, thank God for grandfathers kind of thing, because
Otherwise, I'd never
you
fly.
gotta bend every single rule there is in the book with a variance to make this thing work.
Yeah.
I thought if you moved the foundation, then the grandfather thing went out.
But they're not moved, they're maintaining the footprint. Well, actually, they are moving
They're
the
moving the
foundation.
foundation.
Yeah, but it's so minor.
I'm just saying.
It's merely to center it better on the
Yeah,
wall.
and I agree with that. We thought that was a common driveway on the left side of the house. And we're looking at the existing, and it says that it's 7/10 of an inch from the house to the lot line. So that driveway is somebody else's. Because we thought they might get rid of the other driveway.
Where are they gonna put the driveway on this thing?
There's,
Shown on the
Just
plan.
a
Little
It's on
thing
the
right
plan
there?
where it is,
car, that's
pretty
all.
much where it is now.
Yeah.
yeah, to
Where
the
it is
right.
now.
All right,
So they're getting rid of that one.
one car.
I think it's, it's the
Better hope
right
they
thing
don't
to
have
do.
kids.
It'll improve the neighborhood, and unless the abutters have a real big issue with it.
It's, by the crush of attendees,
Is
I
that
don't
what we're
think.
here for?
We're here to listen about this, yeah. We're the other abutters, not the one with the driveway.
You're on the right side.
You're on the right side, 75.
Right, okay. And then Joni's
Definitely
next to
wanna
you.
save the pond, anything.
Joni is next to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, the two houses, that house and the house that has the driveway used to be close friends. We used to be relatives and then they were close friends. They built the driveway together.
Ah.
It happens, yeah.
I mean, it is a cesspool, it's being replaced with a Title
Yeah.
V
Right,
system,
right,
so
right.
there's
So
a
there's
degree of
an
environmental
improvement there.
protection that'll
Oh,
be
yeah.
provided that has not been
Yeah.
available on the site, so, granted, there are a lot of waivers and variances required from Title V, but it's one of those situations where it's a tough one to deal with, but
Well, this is an issue where and I'm real big on fair. And this is what is, if it was my house or I inherited the house, I would want the same leeway from a board to be able to fix up. Because that's what's fair. You
Well, I
can't
wanna
sit
find
back
out
and
what
say,
the
well,
abutters
too
have
bad,
to
the
say.
laws have changed, tear it down. We don't live in Russia.
Hey,
Yeah.
Al, let's listen to what, do you have people have anything to say about this?
No, I'm not opposed
Okay,
I mean,
It's an eyesore,
it's an eyesore.
so,
not quite as polite.
so
I put up the fence is mine.
don't touch the fence.
It'll be protected.
Don't touch the fence. But the only thing I see there is just to add more protection for the pond.
Yeah,
Everything else
Okay.
looks good to me.
that makes sense.
They maintain the same size property and they moved the house over to center a little tiny bit. I have no big deal with that.
Could fight that.
The health department's gonna sign off on all the well issues and the septic issues.
Yeah, we have nothing to say about that.
All we're concerned with is when you dig the well in the backyard, that the mud doesn't run into the pond.
Sure.
And be polite to the next door neighbors.
And be nice to her fence.
Don't touch the fence.
We'll advise the contractor accordingly.
Yes.
Yes.
Don't touch the fence.
Don't touch the fence.
Yeah, I think it's, you
That
know,
works for me.
it's a really nice little area and I've always liked it down there. I think that, you know, it was built at a time when there were no permits, no laws, no rules, no regulations, and
They were all summer homes at one time.
they were all summer homes, yeah. So, you got an NOI number for this?
578
I don't have a problem with that.
came after the agenda.
12657.
No, I just have one thing that I'm looking at the plan here. The elevation on the north side of the house seems to be slanting towards the adjoining property. No, this is on the new plan, actually. And I'm just wondering if you want to extend the fence, the silt fence, closer to the street to protect anything from running into that,
To the neighbors.
into the neighbor's yard. It's still within the 65 feet
What do you
there.
mean, Savory, over in this?
On
this-
that side.
See the 110 and the 108?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's
That's
on one-
angling towards the neighbors.
It is.
Okay.
So I'm just thinking that maybe we want to,
Curl it up a little bit.
yeah, have
to
it go
that.
closer to the street, just so that, to keep,
Bring the silt fence up more on the property
Why don't
line,
we
which
just
would be
why
along
don't
the
we just
fence.
wrap it on the north side property line to the street line, and then that should accommodate.
that's fine,
Yeah.
yeah.
Then we don't wind up with whatever,
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
that's fine.
all the bones that you dig up
Yeah,
when you
great.
dig the well.
Don't forget the hay bales.
Yeah, that's just, you know, just
Dead bodies.
Silt fence can't
prevent an
stop
issue
mud.
before it happens.
We
Yeah,
good?
Silt fence can't stop that kind of mud.
Make a motion, we close the hearing for 77 Crystal Lake Drive, DEP SE 126578.
I'll second that.
And you also have issue of
It's been moved and seconded to close the hearing for DEP, was it,
Oh, it's
126578.
126,578. Didn't get the number till after.
yeah, okay. Thank you, yeah.
126578.
Yeah, okay. That is to close the hearing for DEP SE 126-578. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Pass unanimous.
And then you have to issue variance.
You go.
65.
Okay, thanks very much.
So,
You're welcome. Long night,
They
huh?
just have to issue you the
we have
variance.
to issue,
It's formal.
we're not done yet.
It's a formality.
So now I would make a motion that we
Oh, yeah,
approve the
we
plans
65
as drawn and issue a variance for 77 Crystal Lake Drive, DEP SE 126578, as shown in the drawings.
I'll second that.
Been moved?
Excuse me.
Sorry, okay, yeah, with the,
Addition of the silt fence running
Yeah,
up.
right,
that'll be
okay.
part of the.
That'll
Yeah.
be part of the conditions.
Conditions, yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, moved and seconded to issue the NOI for
Variance.
65.
Variance.
variance for, as well, okay? And then the NOI for 126-578. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Pass unanimous.
Savory second.
No,
And the crowd get.
Tim did.
Oh, Tim.
Alan
Yeah,
moved,
I
Tim
second
seconded.
it.
Oh, I thought Savory did.
I seconded the closing hearing.
Close, you guys second.
Now you're
I
all
had to
set.
get in there
All set
somewhere.
now?
I had
Okay.
to get in there
Thank you very
somewhere
much for your
tonight.
time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Bill.
Last but not least, wake up, Sarah.
Poor Sarah.
Okay, you're up. Make it short and sweet.
We could have done you first.
Motion to continue this hearing.
Thank
And the
you.
crowd gets smaller.
Thank
These
you
are
for
those
coming.
people that were supposed to
Thank
be
you.
here tonight.
I don't think you're gonna have anybody arguing with you
Because we don't
tonight,
have a
sir.
popcorn machine, I'm telling you. If we get a popcorn machine, we can pack the house.
Oh,
Yeah.
geez. We should show
Look at the
movies and
crowd
things.
coming in now. Oh, gotcha.
Got
Gotcha.
her.
It's Miles Standish Drive and all the others from the street.
Oh, man, here we go. I don't think we need a map for this
I don't
one,
even know if we
pretty
really
sure.
need,
We have the
need
new-
you
we
to
have
tell
the
us
new
anything, do we?
drawings.
Yeah.
Probably not.
So what are we gonna do here?
The reason we continued the hearing last time was because there was some
There was
minor
revised
revisions
plans.
on the plans, and so based on mostly planning board concerns, right, Sarah? They were just stuff that she needed, and we just didn't want to issue the order without having the revised plans, which I have.
Which is all my fault, but.
You change
And
anything?
it was P and A.
Yeah, see, I'm never gonna get this one down. Tremendous amount of disrespect on this board, Mr. Chairman.
I can't understand that myself.
That's not changed.
Just walk me through the changes, Sarah,
Yeah,
the
so,
updates.
Oh,
Sure.
they trimmed it, yep.
for the record, Sarah Stearns with Beals and Thomas. Zach apologizes that he had a conflict tonight, so wasn't able to join us.
We weren't worthy, okay.
So the last time we spoke, we kind of went through the details of the solar project based on our site visit. It seems like a long time ago now that we were out there. But at the time, we were in the planning process, and the plans and stormwater report were being peer-reviewed by Fuss and O'Neill, and from that came a couple of changes, minor in nature, but we did want to make sure that, we got both the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board, the final plans. So essentially, and I think we talked about it actually on the site visit too, we had to change the access roads slightly just to meet Carver Fire Department guidelines. And the other change, while it doesn't really affect what work we're doing in jurisdictional areas, was to move the
They should have
battery
highlighted
storage
it.
component from the southern end of the project closest to Cranberry Road to the center of the array, similar to some of the other recent projects we've done with Borrego. So the alignment is generally the same. If you compare side by side, you'll see a slight difference, but it's very, very slight. And that's really it. We are still in the planning board process. We meet with them next week, but again, that was kept open to finalize the plans, and we have been working with the abutter groups a little bit about screening, so.
Just a quick question, Helga had a question about she said, wondered if the revisions included the lot line thing? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know what her question is about that, but we are showing, if you look on page.
I think she said there was a lot that said that it was not a buildable lot.
Right.
So that was all she kind of told me, so
Yeah.
yeah.
I've spoken with her about it. I think she's okay about it. If you look
Yeah.
on page C21, the index plan,
Right, I saw that. I think that's
it
what she's.
shows the Form A lot that will be created to house the solar array. And I think that's what her concern was, but
Yeah.
I tried to assure her that this is all 80 Makepeace land, and we're creating a smaller lot within the same parcel, so we're not touching anybody else's land. It's all 80 Makepeace, all commonly owned, and everything to the north is commonly owned by Makepeace. So I think that
you're
was her
right, yeah,
question, so
yeah.
if not, she can send me an email.
He was all set with that.
Yeah, I thought we were okay.
Yeah, yeah, I think she is. She
And as
just
I fully
asked.
expected, the
If-
few
if-
changes were
trust me,
exactly what you said they were
If you
gonna
weren't,
be, and I
if you
knew that was
wasn't
gonna
okay
be
with
the
that,
case.
you'd know about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Sorry we made you jump through the hoop,
It's no
but
problem.
we did it for the next guy that comes behind you, and had
It's-
nothing to do with
it's
you
no
or
problem
with
at all.
Borrego.
I completely
Yeah,
understand.
looks good now.
So, I think it looks fine.
Yeah, me too.
We ready? Are you ready for a motion, Mr. Chairman?
What do you think, are we? Yeah, I think so.
Motion to close the hearing on 196 Tremont Street, notice of intent, DEP SE 126576.
And a second on that?
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded to close the hearing on DEP SE 126-576. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Pass unanimous.
I would make a motion to,
You gotta go to the 65-foot too.
approve the plan as drawn for 196 Tremont Street, DEP SE 126576,
For the variance.
as shown on the, on the
Revised
revised plans.
Yeah.
It should bottom right corner so you have your date.
The date's on the front page, if you look under the
Right front, all the
color.
way
I
on the
got
right.
that in the order. The revised date's right here, January
Should be
18th.
right there at the bottom.
Perfect, January 18th, 2019.
So we do
Okay.
need the variance.
Yeah. Then you need
confirmation
the
as
variance
well.
too, up to the brook in the 65.
You need the
It's
variance.
basically just
And issue the variance.
You
We
guys
did-
have-
I know.
Yeah,
we
include
agreed
that
to-
in the,
It'll be in the, yeah, it's gonna be in there.
Right.
So, you need a second.
You usually
no?
vote on it.
Yeah, we need a second on that.
Second.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So it's been moved and seconded to issue a variance and approve the NOI for 196 Tremont Street, SE 126-576. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Pass unanimously. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very
All
much.
that waiting for that.
Yeah, that's okay. I probably have the shortest commute of all those other people, so it's fine.
Pond
Well, you
view is
wanted to hear about the
continued.
energy storage thing anyway, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Who was
So, yeah,
asking
so
me?
actually, if we issue an order that requires a
Save it.
variance.
Oh, sorry, yeah, these are asking.
That's right, we have to, I've already read the minutes. Have you read the
We
minutes?
issue an order that
Somebody was asking about the housing project going up on Federal Furnace. I can't remember who it was today, person I heard talking about it. So,
The Patriot Pines that we did on.
no, this, it's on Federal Furnace property, on,
Oh,
you know, the
Federal
big-
Cranberry?
yeah, Federal
Oh,
Cranberry,
they're
sorry.
doing a housing project?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
it's possibly.
370 some homes or something.
Possibly.
Really?
Yeah, you're out of business.
Oh, wow.
On federal furnace cranberry.
Have they filed anything yet?
No.
Oh.
I'm trying to think of who.
You missed that one.
There's some questions about one of the things that flows through there,
Yeah,
is it a
I've
river?
known,
is
I've
it,
heard
you know,
rumors
irrigation
about it
canal, blah, blah, blah.
for the last 3 months.
Yeah.
Now it's beginning real.
The Pine Ridge, are they abutters to that?
No,
Said they're farther down, okay. I was gonna say.
they
but they
can't,
might
some
be
of your
able to
abutters
see
might
it.
be-
that's right, if they stand on their roofs and get their binoculars out.
And you're gonna record, you guys gonna record this, so I'll get you the original.
Okay, I can pick it up anytime.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
All right,
Thank you
thanks,
very
Sarah.
much.
Sarah, have a good night.
See you next time.
Next time,
Here now.
next solar project.
Okay. Who the hell was it that talked about that?
It's a big project.
And you have to keep a card, like, except someone rolled up in the office, I don't know where they are, and, you know, you say, well, it's better to keep them in the file, but if she gets small ones,
Wider
I can pull these up, yeah. But I mean, you know, we'll have some file cabinets.
I'm good on the minutes.
Oh, yes, let's look at those minutes from last week. I almost think some of Madden's resistance to those changes were that he wouldn't be able to charge as much.
When Mary Ann sends you the minutes,
Yeah.
we should send them to the committee. Any of it needs to read them before the meeting.
Oh, I can do that,
Then it's a two-second.
yeah. That's true.
You'd think I'd have a
I
little
mean, we'd
pull
still
with
have to
Mary
say-
Ann, and she'd send them to me ahead of time, but she doesn't.
I mean, you'd still have to put it on the agenda, but you wouldn't
Yeah,
have
of
to
course,
write, right,
of course.
because you doing that.
That's what I do with finance. I send the minutes out of it.
Because she sends them to Deb, I'll have Deb, well, like, she sends them, yeah, I might do that maybe from now on, that's not a bad idea, right?
Forward them
When you
back.
send them to me?
Only when they get this in-depth, because it's a lot to read.
I know,
You know?
right, and if it's the last thing you're doing, it's like, okay, whatever. I know, this is one, what the heck?
It's a book. We have a
What
good
was this
recording
anyway?
secretary.
Oh, this was Joe Shannon, yeah. 196 Tremont.
Huh?
Didn't realize he was as big as they were.
It's a big meeting. Oh, excuse me. Everybody good?
Oh, that's right.
So far.
Pine Ridge people.
I'm on
there
that page
with it.
2. Okay, I'm set. See no need changes.
So that's a good idea that Alan had up. From now on, when Mary Ann sends me the draft minutes, I'll just forward them to you guys, and then you can read them before the meeting, you know what I mean? Then you'll
We have a
you'll
printout
look
over
at them if
here,
you have a
makes it
chance.
an easy.
Like this high tech or something?
Yes.
Jeez.
That
Make a
gives you
motion to accept the
homework
minutes
to do.
as written.
I will second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as written for January 16th, 2019. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Pass unanimous.
Motion to adjourn.
No, hold on a sec.
Uh-oh. It's always one.
Take off the hat.
We had spoken last time, I think after we closed the meeting, about having a meeting on the 13th to talk about bylaws.
Yep.
Has that been put in the paper?
We don't have to put it in the paper.
We don't have to put it in the paper.
Just on the
Yep, I
website?
talked to Stephen about that, and so what'll happen is we'll, because we're really not voting on anything, we're still saying, we're gonna talk about, do you wanna put some of the Situate stuff in, blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
And then after that, we don't have to have another meeting, it'll go to town meeting.
Okay.
If we
Yep.
approve it, yeah.
As soon as we figure out kind of what we wanna put in the bylaws.
But does it not have to go before the Board of Selectmen before? Aren't they the ones
I
who?
thought that has to go for the Board of Selectmen.
No, it's not a money article.
I think it just goes to town,
It can go,
right?
it gets
I think
put-
they'll review it. I think
Their
they'll
approval
just
to get
review it.
on the
Okay.
warrant.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I think zoning bylaws are different, like Joe's saying zoning has to have another public meeting or something, I can't remember. If it's a zoning issue, then that's a little different than
Right.
ours. But
Okay.
because it's just our bylaws and not a zoning thing,
right.
then it's a little bit different.
Okay, fine.
Yep,
All right,
Don't
that's
have-
it.
yep, so,
The
so
meeting
it'll
on the
be,
13th.
so we'll still have it the 13th, yep.
So there's a meeting next Wednesday and the following Wednesday. There's two meetings the next two Wednesdays.
Right, next week is just about the bylaw.
I mean, unless you wanna do it another, a different
Well,
night,
next week is just about the bylaws,
you
that's
could do it
right.
a different night. if you
And
want.
we are gonna be recorded, Mr. Chairman, or
Sure, why not, if you want to.
let them know?
Okay,
Because I think that it should be recorded.
Yes, it should be.
probably, yeah, should be.
All right.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
You go ahead.
All right, motion to adjourn?
Second.
That was quick.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting.
I don't know yet.
You don't know yet. Okay, I'm not gonna put anything in this.
Yep, nope, so the next one would be February 20th,
Yes.
and then.
No, the next one will be February 13th.
Yeah.
We're still gonna need a
do we need-
recording
we
secretary,
need
absolutely.
minutes,
We
right?
need minutes,
For the thing
Bylaws,
next one?
absolutely. Can you?
What are we saying?
Now,
You have a busy week.
Three weeks in a row.
I mean, we don't have to
Tomorrow
meet
you
again.
got finance.
Next week's Concom
If it's put on the website, we may have people coming here,
Yeah,
Right,
so
Oh,
we
it's a
should be here.
public
Should be
meeting.
here.
all right, we'll be here.
just doesn't need to be an advertised hearing, that's all.
Right, not in the paper, right.
Right.
We're
Okay,
sorry,
so,
Mr. Chairman,
so we have the meeting on the 13th and the 20th.
Yes.
Yeah,
And in March,
well, so far, nothing in March yet, because we'll have to get some filings in between.
Oh, that's
So depending
cool.
on what happens on the 20th, we continue a couple.
Okay.
But, yeah, this is sort of
good, because
a little scary one on
Okay.
20th.
okay. What, something scary?
Oh,
no,
jeez.
The 128 Meadow that I showed you today,
can I
that's
read
all
that?
like in the little island
Oh, yeah.
surrounded by wetlands.
Oh, what the heck.
That'll be a different one.
Okay, so let's continue with the voting on the motion to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Pass
Well-
unanimous.